400 levels, which are more advanced training. So what we'll do is we'll take the basics that are necessary and be done. And to the best of my knowledge, it's not something that you have to go through annually, not on this department head or supervisor level. All of our DPW employees have also been trained, so we'll be all set.
All right.
Questions about that? Something we have to do, we don't have a choice. Number 2 on my list is just an update on some recent training that we held here at Town Hall concerning construction reform, Chapter 193 of the Acts of 2004. This involves new reporting requirements by the Commonwealth for public building construction projects. Public building construction projects over $100,000 now include certain women and minority-owned business goals of between 4% and 8% for each contract that we do issue. You will recall from those of you who've been in the business for a while, there has always been an informal goal that's been established for public procurement contracts. Now, as a result of implementation of the Chapter 193, we're being asked to report this information to the State Office of Women and Minority Business Assistance on a quarterly basis. So we'll implement that standard. In addition to myself, the Finance Director, the Public Works Director, and the Building Superintendent, we completed a training program, and we will begin the reporting requirements. I don't anticipate any problems meeting the deadlines. The first deadline would be for mid-January. And we had a training session here with the town of Reading. They're also subject to the same requirements. Every city and town in the state will be subject to compliance with Chapter 193. Questions about it? Right now, it applies only to building projects. At some point, the law may be modified that when we undertake public works projects, road constructions projects, drainage, bridges, there may be some additional reporting requirements associated with that. But right now, the town does not actively engage in too many building projects over $100,000. So the reporting requirements are modest at this stage. However, if at some point the regulations are changed and every time we do a roadway project, we have to go through a reporting system, then I will get in touch with you and let you know, and it will become much more rigorous in terms of the amount of effort that we need.
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Valley-Cons. So the idea of this is the state just wants to know how many women are employed
No,
on the project?
the state has a state office that certifies certain businesses as being woman-owned or minority-owned.
Yeah,
And there are certain percentage goals that they establish that you need to incorporate into all of your contract documents and say that a certain percentage between 4% and 8% of the total value of the contract shall be dedicated for these businesses. And so by contract, we'll have to set aside an amount for these businesses.
so does that mean then the low bidder may not necessarily now be awarded the
No.
bid?
No.
Yeah,
It's just,
totally
what it does
confused.
is it puts the responsibility on the contractor to assemble either individuals or subcontractors that meet these requirements. So all we're doing is ensuring that we put these standards in our contracts and that we hold the contractor to these standards. How he puts together his team is up to him.
Yeah,
It's ultimately up to him.
The person bidding on the contract puts in a proposal that will get between 4% to 8%.
And we have to just make sure that.
We have to outline our requirements in the bid.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
Just as a question to follow, how does it, I mean, how do we police that? I mean, what if they don't comply after you've already awarded the bids?
Yeah, actually, the packet that I received has all types of contractual standards that need to be incorporated into agreements, and there are different clauses in here that would be particularly relevant to this statute. And it gets into actions required if they don't comply, suspension of payments, and non-performance or non-compliance if contractors don't comply. Ultimately, there's a provision here concerning liquidated damages and termination, which would be the last case. But we've been given all of the, and I'd be happy to pass it around, we've been given all of the contracts and the legalese that we simply just need to incorporate into our documents going forward. And if someone decides that they don't want to do this, then those conditions would take precedence.
Because my guess is that the town is ultimately responsible, though, because we're putting the terms and conditions into the contract. The state is putting the pressure on the communities to comply,
Right.
so that, so if there were grant monies involved and things, those types of things could be held up if our
Right.
contractor didn't comply, so it's.
The main thing the Commonwealth is looking for is the town to provide timely reporting. I think if we provide timely reporting, there's not going to be any problem. Sometimes you end up in situations where communities don't report at all, and those are the communities that will be under the spotlight, and I don't intend for us to be one of those communities. So we'll provide our reports, we'll do our quarterly reports, we'll account for our project and how we spend our money. The reason why I wanted to point it out is right now, it does not appear to be a significant administrative burden. But going forward, if it does include roads and bridges and road construction, and conceivably other contracts, solid waste contracts and such, then it becomes more of a burden, and I am obligated to let you know that that's the case.
And this may be what bothers me a little bit. They put this added burden on the town,
Yes,
and we have to absorb all the costs.
that's correct.
Now, just reading this, Greg, this is the acts of 2004, so now have we been doing this all along?
No, the state has been unclear about how they
Okay.
wanted cities and towns to report.
Okay, I understand.
And it's not unusual, because don't forget, with the change in administration,
Right.
something that may not have been a priority in the past is now a
Right.
priority of the new
Yep.
administration. And that's how it was presented to us, although the law was passed, it was perhaps not high on the list of reporting. And we've had a chance to meet with the representative from the state office. They had come out, they met with us, they told us this is what they're looking for, this is what they're telling every city and town they're looking for, and we're gonna provide them with what they want.
To tell you what prompted this legislation?
Yeah, I don't know what
Is this
prompted
really
the
a
legislation.
problem anymore?
I don't know what would have prompted the legislation. Maybe someone on from the
This is
federal.
Massachusetts.
I know, it.
You see, part of my concern,
It's not a problem.
No, we'll do it.
It's not a problem, it's an economic stimulus piece of legislation to assist minority and women-owned businesses in growing in the Commonwealth. So it's been an ongoing program for a number of years, and it's just another way. This actually is a way by which the state can make sure that there is compliance with the legislation. So, and then just looking through the quickly, I mean, there's a whole set of criteria if they want to waive and stuff like that. Basically, all the fast stuff that is, that with the contractor puts in, has to stipulate whether the goal is being met or not. And if not, they have to seek a waiver.
Right.
So,
All right, any further discussion on that?
That- Mr. Chairman, just information to the board that you and I had an opportunity to meet with the Mass Office of Business Development and representatives from the Gutierrez Company. We met a little while back, and we talked about implementation strategies for Chapter 43D, which is our expedited permitting for the Berry Center site, the commercial office, the commercial office use of the site that's undeveloped. We did meet with them. We've indicated to them what our desires were for that parcel. Gutierrez Company has reaffirmed that their priorities are consistent with our priorities, and we agreed that we would work together to develop a vision for the property. And it just confirming the fact that I think the state and the town and the Gutierrez Company, which holds an option on the site until 2012, are kind of looking at this parcel with the same idea in mind, which would be for high-quality office, commercial uses. And
Basically, what I got out of the discussion was, one, that that's probably the only use that's economically feasible for Gutierrez based on the price he's paid for the property. At the same time, I viewed it as a little bit of lobbying to maybe get some relief on the price that he's going to pay the state from the Mass Office of Business Development. Actually, not the Mass Office of Business Development, but to feed back through what's it, DCAM. So I thought that was interesting. But the good news is that they can't afford to put, you know, like a large box store in there or something, under the current situation, so. Next.
Number 4, an update. I've received a number of calls in the office from residents about the condition of businesses, and specifically along Main Street with junk vehicles. You may have gotten calls from constituents in the past. Been working with the building inspector and diligently trying to enforce the junk vehicle bylaws and state regulations concerning licensing of junk vehicles. As of this date, there are 2 out of the 4 businesses have either removed their junk vehicles or they've ceased operation, and these are the ones that run from the Andover line down to the Reading line. And the building inspector is currently working with the remaining 2 businesses to remedy any additional violations. And again, there are a couple of them that have some junk vehicles that have been there for a while. And the goal in all of this is to make sure that it's cleaned up in an appropriate manner. And I just wanted to announce that because, again, there are a number of calls that come into the office about that. Just a few other things, if you don't mind. The town did conduct its land auction back on October 17th. These were the parcels that the board had indicated they wished to offer up for public sale. The auction was held. Mr. Capola, who was the town's tax title attorney, was present. And although we did have interested parties attend the public bidding, no bids were submitted. So there were 4 parcels, the first of which were the 3 parcels up near Martin's Pond, which are grouped together as one parcel for sale. No one bid on that, although again, there was an expression of interest by several of the bidders that were here. And the other piece of property, my recollection, was at Riverside, and is at Lynn Street, and there were no bidders on that property. So the auction did conclude without any bids being received. At this point, the question would be whether we wish to lower the asking price, and I'm not prepared to offer you a recommendation this evening, lower the auction price, or simply just withhold those requests until the time we go through the next municipal review, which will be in the summer of 2008. Status of the auctions.
Questions? Go ahead.
I wouldn't want to necessarily put this off all the way to next year before we address this. I mean, some of this property was, I'm a little confused, especially with regard to the property in Martin's Pond, because that was directed to a specific problem, and we were offering that up to assist that resident. And was that gentleman here?
No, sir, he was not.
Was not. That's kind of odd. I wonder where the disconnect is there. It was offered specifically to solve a man's problem with septic system. So that's interesting. The other properties, there seemed to be people that were interested at the time when they applied, but when it came time to meet the minimum bid, was that what happened? Is that people weren't willing to go to the minimum bid?
That's correct. We had individuals who came in and expressed that they would be willing to buy the land, but not for the minimum price that was set for the property.
I think maybe we should contact, I think it was Mr. Fothergill. I'm, you know,
I'll take a
just
look
to see what it was.
and contact Mr. Farthingale and see what exactly happened on that.
And also, was it Batchelder's over on Lynn Street?
Yes.
And then, you know, just contact, I mean, to me, I just assume get back on the tax roll. Again, we try to be somewhat fair as far as setting the minimum bid. One of them, I think, was at about $4,500, though, was the one on Lynn Street, which was, to me, at the time, that's what we established it, but it was a little bit steep for a non-buildable lot, sure it enhances the property, but it's only good to one of the 2 abutters. What abutter wasn't interested at all?
I'm not so sure about that. We'll talk about that.
Right.
They want it for free. Yeah.
So, I know, and then,
But I mean,
and
the thing
then
is,
the
is
ones
to
on
give a-
Central Street, that's just a,
To give a piece of property for free, I still
No,
say,
I'm not doing it.
to give a piece of property for cheap or for free, all right, I'd rather keep it on our property than give it away, because to me, when they go to the